Good morning and welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. My name is Gail Snyder. I'm the Executive Director for Dementia Friendly Fort Worth, and we are proud to offer this program in conjunction with funding through the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way. This is a recorded program, so if you do not wish to be included in the recording, please keep your mic muted and your video turned off. And today is our sing-along, and we are doing gospel choruses today. Linda and Bill, let's get singing.
Okay, and you have the words to put on the screen. So
Yes.
Let's sing some old Southern gospel camp meeting songs, the kind that you have to stomp your feet and clap your hands to. So we're going to try some.
So if the screen goes like this, you know I'm stopping.
There you go.
No.
That's what happens when you stomp your feet on a chair.
That's right, yeah.
We're going to start out with Give Me That Old Time Religion.
'Tis the old time religion,
Give that old time religion, give that old time religion, it's good enough for me. Okay, so Gail's finding the words.
it was good for her.
Yeah, she's got a.
What it was there.
There it is.
Yes.
Those are not in alphabetic order, are they? The other ones I sent you are, but those are not. So there it is. Okay. And so, yeah, Give Me That Old Timer. So we'll sing that verse again, and then we'll do the second verse. Makes me love everybody. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Makes me love everybody. Makes me love everybody. It's good enough for me. Let's see. It'll do me when I'm dying. How about that? It'll do me when I'm dying. It will do me when I'm dying. It will do me when I'm dying. It will do me when I'm dying. It's good enough for me. Just the old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Old time religion. It's good enough for me. And you can see there are lots and lots of verses. You could just keep going on that one for a long time. But that's an old song. We never sang that in church. But when I was growing up and would go up to Northeast Texas to be with my grandparents, sometimes we would go to a little church just down the Farm to Market road from them, which was not where they typically went to church. But we would go to that one sometimes. And that was one of those churches that would have all day singing and dinner on the grounds.
Yeah.
And that they would sing songs like this one, this Old Time Religion. What's next?
Farther Along.
You got to tell them a story. This is Farther Along. While Gail's looking for the words, Bill will tell you a story about this one real
I
quick.
just heard a radio program, one of the quartet programs, and the announcer said, now, folks, our quartet will come forward and sing that favorite Father's Day song, Farther Along.
That's pretty good.
That is, yeah.
Okay, so Farther Along. Did I try when off made to wonder why it should be thus all the day long, while there are others living about us, never molest or go in the wrong. Okay. Farther along, we'll know all about it. Farther along, we'll understand why. Cheer up, my brother, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. That's a great old song, and I remember singing this one usually when we were in East Texas, not in my home church that I grew up in. But I did not know that it had as many verses as it does. I found all of these words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 verses, and I never knew it had that many because in the hymnal it only had about 3. But let's sing that second verse. Sometimes I wonder why I must suffer. Oh, I can't tell you that. It's your screen. There you go. There you go, Gail. And then we'll go back and do the chorus again, okay? Sometimes I wonder why I must suffer. Oh, in the rain, the cold and my brother, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. This song talks about we don't always understand why things are the way they are here. And I remember that John Claypool was the pastor of Broadway Baptist Church here in Fort Worth, back in the 70s, I think. And they had a young daughter. She was about, I don't know, maybe 10, and she died of leukemia. And I remember hearing him say one time that he envisioned a big filing cabinet where he had a drawer marked to be awaiting further information, something like that. Yeah. And when he had those questions that you just can't come up with an answer for, he would see himself putting it in that imaginary file drawer, awaiting further information. And so, yeah, I thought that was good, because there are some things we just will never understand, so that's what this song is about. So I like that one. What's next?
It's
Will the Circle Be Unbroken? Oh my goodness. This is a song that is actually very popular country western type song. I mean, a lot of country western singers would sing this song. When I was looking for words, I found a number of country western singers who had recorded this song. Will the Circle Be Unbroken? Do you have that one, Gail? I'm so sorry that I should have put them in alphabetic order for you. Or we should have put them in the order that they are in that list that I sent you. I don't always decide the order until later. So this one talks about it. To me, the picture is we're all gathered around the dinner table and there's an empty chair because someone has died. The circle is broken and then the question is, will the circle be unbroken in the sky, in the by and by? And will we all be around that heavenly banquet table together? So anyway, I just kind of like this song. And, it talks about the hearse coming. When I saw the hearse come rolling, it reminds me of what we saw in the news coverage of the funeral in Houston yesterday, with that old-fashioned hearse, white, drawn by horses, I think, or something. I can't remember how it rolled. And it had glass on the side so that you could see in and see the coffin inside the hearse. That's what this reminded me of when I heard this and saw those videos. So, will the circle be unbroken? I was standing by the window. Standing by the window on a cold and cloudy day, when I saw the hearse come rolling for to take my mother away. Oh, will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a banner waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. That's another thing. When you find the words and you find the music to these old songs, we have not always sung them the way the music is written, and Bill and I are struggling to put the two together. And this is a good illustration of that one. When you hear the country western singers sing this song, it doesn't sound exactly like the music that you can find to it. So we struggle a little bit. So let's try that first verse again. I was standing by the window. I was standing by the window on a cold and cloudy day, when I saw the hearse come rolling to take my love away. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better moment waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
I like the way you sing it better.
It's hard for us to put them together. This one has a bunch of verses too that I did not know, and it goes on to talk about following the hearse to the graveside. And it's just an interesting old song. But will that circle be unbroken? And we think about that, don't we, when we lose a loved one? The next one is also sort of about, I didn't realize I had two in a row that were kind of like funeral songs, but this one is O Come Angel Band. And I do not ever remember singing this in church, but I remember hearing it on the radio. And again, it was a sort of a popular song as well as a semi-religious song. And one of the interesting things to me about this song is just a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, our neighbors were Lutheran, and he was a retired Lutheran pastor. And Lutherans tend to be a little bit more formal. They have a lot more liturgy and ritual. But at his funeral, he had them sing this song, "O Come Angel Band." And it talks about, bear me away. This says the words that I found say snow white wings. I remember it's snowy wings. But it talks about the angels, bear me away. And it reminds me of the parable that Jesus told about the rich man and Lazarus. And he was asking, Lazarus was carried away by the angels, it says, to Abraham's bosom. And this song kind of reminds me of that. So this starts out, my latest sun is sinking fast. My race is nearly run. Okay? My latest sun is sinking fast. My race is nearly run. My strongest trials now are past. My triumph has begun. Oh, come angel band, come and around me stand. Oh, bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Oh, bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? Okay, let's sing the next verse. I've almost gained my heavenly home. This sounds like I'm on my deathbed, doesn't it? I've almost gained my heavenly home. My spirit loudly sings. The holy ones, behold, they come. I hear the sound of wings. I like that. I've almost gained my heavenly home. My spirit loudly sings. The holy ones, behold, they come. I hear the sound of wings. Oh, come, angel band, come and around me stand. Bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Isn't that cool? I really like that song. There's just something about that one that I like. Yeah. Okay. Okay, here's another old one. I never remember singing this in my home church, but I do remember singing it up in the East Texas little country church. I'll be listening. When the Savior calls, I will answer. When he calls me, I will hear. When the Savior calls, I'll answer. I'll be somewhere listening for my name. And then the verse is just, I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening for my name. It just repeats that. So anyway, so we'll try this one. When the Savior calls. Savior calls, I will answer. When he calls for me, I will hear. When the Savior calls, I will answer. I'll be somewhere listening for my name. I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening for my name. I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening for my name. Did y'all know that one? Had you sung that one before? No? Some of you have and some of you haven't. All right, so the next one is, if my heart is right when he calls me, if my heart is right, I will hear. If my heart is right when he calls me, I'll be somewhere listening for my name, and then we'll do the chorus again. Okay, so we'll try that one. If my heart is right when he calls me, if my heart is right, I will hear. If my heart is right when he calls me, I'll be somewhere listening for my name. I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening for my name. I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening, I'll be somewhere listening for my name. That's a good one too. Then it's got one more verse that we won't sing today. It's if my robe is white when he calls me. That one I don't quite understand because I'm not sure we all have white robes down here, but we will have them in glory, according to a lot of the old songs. And somewhere in Revelation, I think it talks about having white robes. All right, this is an old favorite song. And this one we do sing in church, and it's still in some of the hymnals today. I'll Fly Away. And this one is a really foot stomper, hand clapping song. Is that right?
Churches.
Okay, let's go back to that one. We'll
Well,
go back to that one in just a minute. Let's do I'll Fly Away. Okay. Some glad morning. Not too fast because they have a little pitch. Some glad morning when this life is o'er, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. Now you gotta clap. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, I'll fly away. That's great. This is one of those that you can hear the quartet singing the echo pieces, you know, in the chorus. So that's a good one. And then the next verse is when the shadows of this life are gone. Let's do that one. When the shadows of this life have gone, I'll fly away. Like a bird from prisoners of love, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. In thy fly, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. I got so excited I dropped my words. There we go. Oh, well, who knows? I'll be in shape with Gail. All the words not in order. Okay. I was going to tell you that this song, we sang this in chapel recently. We did a chapel service with a bunch of old gospel hymns. And when I was looking up information about this hymn, I found out that the person who wrote it, whose name right now I don't remember, was out in the cotton fields in Oklahoma picking cotton one day. And he was listening to the radio, heard, I guess, near the house he was picking, I don't know. But anyway, he had heard this song, or maybe he was just remembering from having heard it on the radio. But it was a very popular song on the radio, and it talked about a man in prison who wanted to fly away over the prison walls to go see his girlfriend. And this guy that wrote this hymn was kind of thinking about that song and thinking he'd like to fly away out of the cotton fields. And so he later wrote down these words, and you'll notice that it says, like a bird from prison bars has flown. That's sort of a take on the old actual just country hymn that he was thinking about when he wrote the words to this hymn. So I think that's an interesting one. Okay, now what's next?
The
Church in the Wildwood. The Church in the Wildwood. And this song was written by a man who was traveling by stagecoach. And when they stopped to change the horses, he took a little walk and came across this beautiful valley. And he was standing there just, you know, kind of looking at how pretty it was and thought, oh my, that would be such a nice place to build a church. But he was on a trip to see his fiance, there it is, to see his fiance, and really kind of thought about the words that he had written. He just kind of tucked them away and hadn't thought any more about it. And years later, he was back in that area because they were going to live near his now wife's parents. And he remembered that valley and learned that the people had since actually built a church in that valley for that community. And guess what color they painted it? Brown. They painted it, the paint was called Ohio Mineral Brown. And it was the cheapest paint around, and that's why they painted it brown. And isn't it interesting that the words to the song that he had written talked about a little brown church in the Vale? Isn't that fascinating? Because it's not often you see a brown church, they're usually white. So I just think that's very interesting. So let's sing the Church in the Wildwood. Come to the Church in the Wildwood. There's a church in the valley by the water. Oh, come to the church in the vale. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. Oh, come, 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 come to the church in the wildwood. Oh, come to the church in the vale. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. Oh, isn't that neat? Our church, the last church that we served before my husband retired, was having a celebration of their, I don't know what it was, 150th year or something. I can't remember. But anyway, someone did an arrangement of come to the church in the Wildwood for that church because it is the oldest deeded Methodist church in Dallas County and still has it's actually located on some of what remains of the farmland and has the old Cochran family cemetery right there and a real pretty little chapel. The old farmhouse is still there. And it sits in the middle of Dallas at the corner of Northwest Highway and Midway Road, right in the middle of Dallas. And yet here's this beautiful piece of land and this little chapel and the old farmhouse. And so when I think of this church, this song, I now think about Cochran Chapel United Methodist Church and that song. Let's sing, we have another verse of that one. Let's see. How sweet on a clear Sabbath morning. We've done that one. Okay, how sweet on a clear Sabbath morning. How sweet on a clear Sabbath morning to listen to the clear ringing bells. Its tone so sweetly are calling. Oh, come to the church in the vale. Oh, come, 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 come to the church in the wildwood. Oh, come to the church in the vale. What is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. Oh, that's neat, isn't it? Okay, we did Fly Away. What's next? Oh, Victory in Jesus. Want to sing that one? I heard an old story about victory in Jesus. We'll sing this one, and then maybe we'll sing A New Name in Glory. Okay? Gail's finding the heard an old. Gail's finding the heard an old story. How a Savior came from glory. How He gave His life on Calvary to save a wretch like me. I heard about His groaning, of His precious blood's atoning. Then I repented of my sin and won the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and bought me with His redeeming blood. He got me out of Him, and all my love is due Him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I had to put my words down up here because I got my foot going on that one too. That is just a great old song. It was one of the favorite songs of my husband's pastor when my husband was a teenager and growing up and feeling that and listening for that call to preach. And then later, you know, he guided him as he felt called to preach and started to college and then seminary. But this was one of Charles's favorite songs. And every time we sing it, I am reminded of Charles Whittle and of what an influence he had on Jim's life, my husband, and even on our lives. So let's sing another verse. It's so good. I heard about His healing, the next verse. I heard about His healing, of His cleansing power revealing, how He made the lame to walk again and caused the blind to see. And then I cried, dear Jesus, come and heal my broken spirit. And somehow Jesus came and brought to me the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. All right, that's a great one too. Can we do one more, Gail? We have time? Okay. A new name in glory. I was once a sinner, but I came pardon to receive from my Lord. There's a new name written down in glory. There it is, Gail, you got it. I was once a sinner, but I came pardon to receive from my Lord. This was freely given, and I found that He always kept His word. There's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine. Oh, yes, it's mine. And the white robed angels sing the story. My sinner has come home. For there's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine. Oh, yes, it's mine. With my sins forgiven, I am bound for heaven, nevermore to roam. Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? There's Jesus told a parable about how how the angels rejoice more when a sinner is converted, comes home, repents, than all the righteous who think they don't need to repent. And he talks about the angels rejoicing in heaven. And that's what I think about when I see this song. Let's see. Look over on the second column right in the middle where it says, in the book 'tis written. See that one? Let's sing that verse. In the book 'tis written, saved by grace. That's good, okay? In the book 'tis written, saved by grace. Oh, the joy that came to my soul. Now I am forgiven, and I know by the blood I am made whole. There's a new name written down in glory, like the sun. Oh, yes, it's mine. And the bright robed angels sing the story. A sinner has come home. There's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine. Oh, yes, it's mine. With my sins forgiven, I am bound for heaven, nevermore to roam. All right, that's a great one. Are we out of time, Gail, or what?
We are just about out of time, unfortunately.
Well, we have some more. We'll do it again another time because we've got
yes.
more good old hand clapping, foot stomping, gospel camp meeting songs.
Enjoyed being with you today.
Oh, this was fun. Thank you for
Well,
letting me.
Thank you.
you did a couple of my grandmother's favorites.
Oh, good.
I usually
Brings back
say when
memories,
we
doesn't
sing those in chapel, I can just see her standing up there leading the songs
it? Mhm.
and clapping, even though she couldn't clap on with the music.
That's all right. It's the spirit and the intent that counts.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, she was intent. She was very intent with her clapping, let me tell you.
Well, it's been good to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for being with us, everybody.
See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
And tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow, we will be doing the 1970s, The Price is Right,
Wow.
at 10:30. We didn't get to do it last week because there was nobody but me there.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
that's okay. But I'm anxious to do this because I think it's going to be fun. The 1950s was a lot of fun. So if you don't have anything on your schedule tomorrow, try to join us tomorrow at 10:30.
Sounds like
All
fun.
right.
All right.
Thank
Y'all
you.
have a great rest of your day. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.